Mr. Adeniran, you're of course advised the presidency on the rule of law, and I want to ask you, when you hear some of the issues he raised, because these are issues Nigerians are raising all over the country. We talk about delayed cases, when you talk about incoherence and inconsistency between how certain cases are handled based on certain alignments, etc. What are your thoughts on that, and do you think that any of those claims have any veracity at all?
I think the starting point is to understand that, government is the executive, the judiciary, and the legislative arm of government. So there are three very separate and independent arms of government. When we talk about cases, there have been so many cases that are now being pushed into the system. And it's easy to say that the quality of evidence is poor. But, I mean, if we start looking at examples, a case which was initiated in 2016, against a former, publicity affairs, whatever, of the former party of PDP, the publicity secretary of PDP, which was initiated in January 2016. Prosecution closed this case by first week or second week of February 2016. And since then, defense, no case submission, which has gone on appeal to the Supreme Court now. Supreme Court has rejected that. I go back to trial. But every time the trial date comes up, there's one excuse or the other. The last time he appeared on a stretcher. We were in this country when there was a decision that after a judge was shown, at least from the evidence that had been presented by prosecution, there was evidence that this judge, his wife, had received money shortly after he had given judgment in favor of a particular lawyer. Now, no matter how complex the case is, it cannot end on a no-case submission. Again, that case is on appeal. My point in all of this is that we need to look at fighting corruption as not something that will happen overnight. There are lots of cases that, if you look at the quality of evidence is actually good. But the problem is, we still need to come together as a country to agree that we need to fight this monster called corruption. Tomorrow, there'll be a dialogue of the arms of government, of organs of government, legislative, judiciary, and executive. And one of the things that, inform that is that we need to come together to talk about national issues, corruption being one of them. In fact, is one of the key issues that will be discussed tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to ask, when you mentioned earlier in the conversation about this lag between perception and reality. And, when sometimes it sounds like there are two different worlds, because when you hear from the presidency, it's like President Buhari is the AU champion for the fight against corruption. He's hailed globally for integrity, et cetera, et cetera. But then when you hear kind of the sound that's coming from within the country, it's like there's this problem, and that problem. Now, what do you think can be done to bridge those two worlds, and so that everybody can have a common understanding of where we are truly in the fight against corruption?
Well, I think better communication is one of them. I think people need to know what's going on. I think people need to be told about the successes as well. People need to be encouraged to come out with information and test the system. We need to keep testing the system, because I think we can actually make that progress. Progress is going to be hard. And there's no one in presidency or anywhere that will tell you that the fight against corruption is an overnight fight that will be easy. It's not going to be. And we're seeing that. So I think we should just, take a step back. This Transparency International report is good because it also allows us to, go back to the drawing board and look at things dispassionately. We're engaging, like I said, the EIU to understand better why they ranked us so lowly. Maybe that might give some insight. You don't know. Maybe we might provide them with some insight. But it's to basically look at how we can fashion a way forward and look at ways to improve the perception, of my colleague here.
That way forward is extremely important. I mean, CBI, beg your pardon, Transparency International itself also provides some, some way forward, because they believe that transparency, or the CPI, is closely related with democracy and, media freedom and things like that. Read this quote: CPI results correlate not only with attacks on press freedom and the reduction of space for civil society organizations. In fact, what is at stake is the very essence of democracy and freedom. That's the observation here. Now, they also have top 5 recommendations. They talk about governments and businesses, because it would seem that even private businesses are also being scrutinized, must do more to encourage free speech, independent media, political dissent, and an open and engaged civil society. To your mind, would you say that this government is doing well in that regard?
Mokwa, you wonder. You just read out this. You wonder why we dipped so low, when the truth is that every so often you talk about Nigeria, it is actually government that's given us a new refrain in the public space: hate speech. Hate speech is a way of lumping every critical opinion in a negative. Now, that's one. Number 2, you hear people talking about...
Just a moment. Do you agree that there's anything called... Because, you know, there's a huge debate on that as well. Do you agree there's anything called hate speech?
You know, I'm going to answer this in context. I'm 46 years old. Before this administration, nobody regaled our public space, not even under the military, with the word hate speech. That's my answer. Now, it is a daily normative.
Do you believe,
and the question is, what is hate speech?
Do you believe there's anything called hate speech?
I'm still studying. I'm still trying to understand what hate speech connotes.
Do you believe that there is speech not appropriate for media?
Absolutely. I do.
I think,
you know, now that's exactly why I said I'm going to put it in context. This government is lumping every critical opinion under an umbrella called hate speech. And Transparency International wouldn't like it. The world wouldn't like it. That's point number 1. Then number 2, every so often you hear about regulation of the independent press. That, oh, we're watching, we're going to monitor the social media, we're going to monitor so that no calls are made to this. All that is strangulating, squeezing, and tinying down the media space, and that's against the rule.